I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one is for Shadower, who says, rant about the debate between Dick Masterson and Destiny. Who has the more inconsistent argument and why? Holy fucking shit. This is one of the hardest fucking things that I've ever tried to sit through.
Amen, brother.
Destiny might be the most insufferable person who I've ever tried to listen to speak. I don't think I've ever been more angry, more wanted to strangle the person.
That's good, because if you disagree with me, when I talk, it should make you fucking angry, okay? Now, every single fucking lefty fuck in my chat can agree with you, okay? They all hate me too, brother.
Than I was listening to than Destiny in this video. And I tried to listen to this once before, because obviously I'm a fan of Dick Masterson. You know, I've worked with him before, so like I tend to watch most things that he's involved with if they are entertaining. This was so infuriating. I've never heard somebody go so far out of their way to, like, I don't know if intentionally try not to understand what the other person is saying. Like, first of all, everything Dick is accusing Destiny of is exactly accurate and proven by...
What do we think? Are we going to get some examples? We've got 7.5 minutes left of this. Do you think we're actually going to get examples of things that I've done that are actually horrible? Here we go, boys.
The argument, as Dick repeatedly points out, that every single time he says something, Destiny completely sidesteps the point that's being made and tries to ask for some kind of specific detail that he can then, you know, go on to...
So what is it? Do I sidestep the point, or do I ask for a detail to elucidate the point? I mean, you can't really do both at the same time, dipshit.
About that instead. And any time that Dick started to, like, really get into something where he, you know, was trying to make a point, Destiny would be like, oh, let's change topics. I don't want to talk about this, you know? And
bullshit. When Dick brought up something specific, like, for instance, La Raza and that lawyer that belonged to La Raza, we went into it, and he wanted to change topics because he was upset because he felt like he got dragged into a Trump debate. Did this guy even listen to the same fucking conversation? Sorry,
on it to make it not what he said, you know, to say that, to basically reframe the argument and then add his...
Is this the guy that I'm about to talk to? Oh, God, why are we doing this? I need to debate more lefties. Oh.
You did it just now. And he goes, well, you don't even have any examples. He's like, this is the example. And then Destiny goes, but and, like, he just keeps going in circles like that. It's so fucking infuriating. I can't believe it's real. It's like, it sounds like arguing with Maddox. You know, it's that level of, like, total obliviousness to how fucking idiotic you sound. And the fact that...
Is every Dick Masterson bro, like, obsessed with Maddox? Is that, like, a thing? Like, a hallmark of his...
I hope everyone has a great day.
Like, people frame this as though Dick, like, lost this debate. Is baffling to me. Like, if you can listen to this and take Destiny seriously at all, I don't know what's wrong with you. And granted, this is all I've heard from him. I don't know anything else about this guy other than this episode, but listening to him talk is, like, hair-pullingly infuriating. And I hope to God I get the chance to debate him myself. I would love to argue with this motherfucker, because unlike Dick, I live in arguing. You know, I can do that.
Oh, famous. Are these the famous last words? He lives in arguing.
A, it's condescending and obnoxious, and B, why it doesn't really reach the point. And
I'm not even watching the rest of this. This guy has never said anything that I haven't heard before. I already feel like my mind contains every possible thing that this fucking guy could ever possibly say. Oh, please kill me. Please, Lord, deliver me from this horrible fucking conversation I'm about to have. Lord, please be with me. Please protect me. Hello, Digibro, the one and only.
Hello, I am here.
How are you doing this wonderful day?
I'm doing fine.
Okay, good to hear.
So, we gonna argue here? We gonna have a debate?
Yep, that's what we're here to do, my dude.
Alright, so as I understand it, I'm here to argue with you the fact that you put words in people's mouths.
That's what we're arguing about?
As a way of arguing. Well, that's what you agreed to argue about on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you want to, sure.
Was there something else you were hoping to argue about?
I was just curious about the video in general about the Dick stuff, but I mean, this probably will cover most of it, I imagine.
If you say so. Well,
wait, real
do
quick.
You have any...
Can you turn up your microphone a little bit?
How's that?
Yeah, that's okay. All right.
So, do you deny the fact that you put words in people's mouths, first of all?
It's a very broad question, so I'll try to answer this the best I can. I'm sure I have at some point, but I mean, I try not to. I try to make a good faith effort to understand what other people are arguing.
You feel that you do not attempt to reframe the things that people say into something that suits the narrative that you want to box them into when you're arguing with them.
That's a really loaded question. I mean, I would say no. I try not to reframe things in the way that people don't want me to. I do reframe what people say a lot, though. I try to like reform it into a more coherent argument. But
Okay, so I have to wonder, when you do something like that, do you just think that you are better at saying what they mean than they are? Is that what your sort of
generally,
angle
yeah,
is?
yeah.
Okay, so you're just kind of smarter than everybody.
So that is a total non sequitur. You think that because I think that I can rephrase something that somebody else has said in a better way because I've had
Right,
these
we'll say
arguments.
better at
Wait.
English
Can I
than
please
everybody.
hold on? Please let me finish.
Yeah.
Because you say a lot of real dumb shit. So I want to make sure I say everything very, very, very carefully. Okay. So you just said that because I sometimes reframe what other people say, because I do that, because I've had these arguments a million times, that automatically means that I think I'm better than everybody else or smarter than everybody else.
Well, no. What I'm asking you is, when you reframe someone's argument, you think that you are better at saying it than they are.
Correct.
Right?
That what you just said there is correct. That doesn't mean I think I'm smarter than everybody or better than anybody, but I do think
I mean,
generally...
surely you must be better than them at framing an argument. Is what you mean to say, right?
No, that is what I said. Do you recognize
Okay.
there's a difference between being better at reframing somebody's argument versus
Of course.
thinking? Okay.
Of
All right.
course, I recognize that.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and talk about this tweet chain that you and I had together.
Sure.
I asked you, what do you want to argue about? You responded, the idea that Dick brought up and substantiated a single coherent point during our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't hold that stance exactly with the words that you chose, so that's how I responded. To which you responded, oh, so you admit that Dick floundered and failed to raise a single good point in our discussion. Strange, I felt a different vibe from your video. Now, this is not even close to what I said or was implying with my tweet. Is that difficult for you to agree with?
Yes. So in the first tweet, I'm basically saying, do you think that Dick brought up a single coherent point? And you said, well, I don't. Or so the first
Brought
thing,
up and substantiated a single coherent point.
yeah.
Is the
And it
exact
seemed like you
phrase
said you
used.
weren't comfortable defending that. So then I said,
not a stance I hold with the phrasing chosen. That is what
okay,
I responded.
what is your
with.
issue with the phrasing?
All right, we'll get
Do you
into
think,
that in a second.
Well, no,
I wanna talk
that's what
about,
we're talking about right now, right? Or
well,
these
we
two
will
tweets?
get into it, believe me. But the more important point is that what I said is I do not hold the stance with the phrasing that you chose. So for you to then go and assume that I had this other stance, that is... nothing I said implies that. Nothing I says implies that, oh, I believe the exact opposite of what you said. I just said I don't agree with the exact phrasing you used. So I don't understand how you make this logical leap into, oh, so you're saying that Dick floundered and he failed to raise a single good point. Never said anything like that. Just that I don't agree necessarily that he brought up and substantiated a single coherent point with those exact words. Do you see
Okay.
how that's different?
I don't think we should. I think we should move on to the next point.
What is the next point?
Whatever you want
This
to talk.
is the point. This is what I wanted to argue with you about. Is that you
Okay,
took
so then
the
hold
thing
on.
I
Well, so
said-
then I'll tell you. I don't know if you have like social like problems, like some sort of autism or whatever, or you have an inability to understand what people are saying. But typically, if somebody says you don't agree with the idea that somebody brought up and substantiated a single coherent point, it's pretty reasonable to assume that you didn't think they brought up and defended
Okay,
any
you-
points.
you
That's like
say
a
that it's
pretty
reasonable.
Yeah, that's a pretty reasonable assessment, I think.
Who's reasonable in whose book? I have to wonder. Just like that's something you believe is reasonable. I don't believe so. I
Okay,
don't
sure.
believe it's
So-
reasonable for you to, especially with the phrasing that you choose, such as "so you admit." That's where you're putting words in my mouth. Now you could have very easily framed this as, "Are you saying this?" And I could have said, "No, I'm not saying that." I could have re-explained to you, but because you are putting words in my mouth, you are now trying to cause me to have the argument you want me to have, so that I will argue the way you want me to.
Well, not
That's why
necessarily.
this
You
is an
could. I'm not the
aggravating
one that
argumentative
made you.
tactic.
I'm not the one that made you disagree with both ends of a dichotomy. That's on you. If you want,
It's not
we
a
can-
dichotomy.
It,
There
okay,
is
wait. Here,
not
let's.
a
Can we just
dichotomy
read?
here.
Yeah, let's just read the tweet, okay? So
Yes, I just did. I have it on screen in front of me.
Okay, cool. So let's go over this word by word, okay? Or let's read the whole thing first, okay? So the idea that Dick brought up and substantiated a single coherent point during our conversation. If you disagree with that, you don't think it's fair for me to assume then that you don't believe that Dick brought up and substantiated a single coherent point? If you say no, or which word could you take issue with here that that doesn't negate like the entire idea? I'm curious.
The word I take issue with is substantiated.
So you believe that Dick brought up points, but he didn't substantiate them?
Yes, I would say that. I would say
okay,
that
then,
Dick
well, hold on,
brought
wait.
up
Okay, wait.
points.
Let's just follow this. Okay, so you believe that Dick did bring up points, but you believe he did not substantiate them, right?
That's what I would say.
Okay, so then when I say that he failed to raise a single good point in our discussion, you don't think that like raising a good point, that substantiating that good point is like part of
No.
Okay.
I don't think you have to substantiate a point for it to be a good point. If I go and tell you that the sky is blue in the daytime, I don't have to substantiate that for it to be a good point. Like, we all know that is true. And so when I watched the debate you had with Dick, I don't need him to substantiate the things he said because I already know they are true. It is already self-evident to me. I don't need him to explain it for me to think, oh, this guy is correct. Because I already know he's correct.
Sure. So let's take a step back, and I'm going to do that reframe thing, and you can tell me if it's unfair. So it sounds like you're telling me that if two people are having a debate, one side could just raise points that you already agree with, and they don't necessarily have to provide any evidence or backing for those points as long as you already agree with them, and it's still a good point?
It can be the case.
Okay, I've never in my life heard of conducting a conversation where two people disagree in this case. But if you think that's true, then in your framework, then I would concede to you. It's totally possible then. I guess Dick did bring up good points. He just didn't substantiate anything, but they're still good points. If you want,
I mean, let's say that we have a conversation, for instance, a debate between a flat earther and somebody who thinks the world is round, right? And let's say that the person who thinks the world is round is not very good at arguing. They're just kind of stating over and over again, of course the world is round, the science says so. And the other guy is raising a million points that he has for his argument. And the other guy, even though all the things the flat earther is saying are provably untrue, the guy who believes the earth is round doesn't know how to disprove them.
Yeah, so he's not raising good points. No, he's not raising good points.
He is raising
a
good point that the earth is round.
The whole point of a good point, the reason why a point is good is because it's substantiated. You can't just lay out a conclusion and not justify it.
So you're telling me that if this person said the world is round and they didn't have a good argument for why, that they don't have a good point, that
Correct.
The world is fucking round,
that would be
that they are not
bad
stating
point.
Facts?
Yeah, correct.
So,
That's how arguments
the flat earther
generally
wins
work.
the debate, is what you're saying.
You do know it's possible to win a debate even if you don't have the best or most objectively correct position, right?
Who decides who wins a debate?
Well, I mean, we can use logical structures to go through a series of premises and see if they naturally lead to a conclusion. That's one way we could do it.
Who decides who wins a debate, though? Who decides?
In what you're asking me an incredibly broad question. I mean, in some cases,
I am asking you a very broad question. Who decides who wins a debate?
Well, in a high school, it would be moderators decide who wins the debate. In the public forum, it could be a random listener decides who wins the debate. I mean, between two people, it could be that both of them come to a decision on who wins the debate. I don't know. It depends.
Where does the buck stop on this?
It's not a buck stopping. It's not like this has to stop somewhere. It depends on who's listening. Any single person can have their own interpretation of how a conversation goes.
That's what I mean to say, is that there is no way to say that one or the other person, quote unquote, won. They can win in the eyes of the beholder, so to speak, whoever happens to listen to it and decide for themselves. But there is
you
no,
think there's no possible way to listen to a conversation between two people and come up with some objective framework by which we can evaluate whether or not one person made better, more coherent arguments than the other person? This is really the argument you want to go with?
I'm telling you, no, that's not what I'm arguing. I'm arguing that you can win a debate debating poorly by being correct.
Okay, well, what you just said is just wrong. I don't know how else to phrase that.
Well, who is to say?
Every single person that has ever studied any topic in their entire life. If you've ever taken a math class, if you've ever taken an art class, if you've ever taken an English class, all of those teachers will never give you scores for making a good point if you don't substantiate it with arguments.
That's on the teachers. That's on the structure
on
of the
all
system
of academia, on all the collection of human knowledge. Yes. Yeah, sure. I agree. Yes, that's what
Absolutely.
I usually rely on. Yeah.
So. And that inherently makes that all correct.
No, not inherently. It's the fact that we tend to rely on these structures of discourse. Well, yeah, because if you want, you can be some weird, like, epistemic anti-realist that doesn't believe in any truth or whatever in the entire universe, although it's weird that you have, like, a YouTube channel critiquing other art if you believe that. I don't think that that's your mind state either, so, no, of course, yeah, we all appeal to some...
I do have videos with titles like Objectivity Doesn't Fucking Exist, so we can go down that road.
You don't need objectivity in art to understand that there are reasonable frameworks by which we can appeal to have discussions.
Sure, reasonable frameworks is one thing. Nobody decides whether or not the thing you are saying is true, though.
Okay, so
like,
then
that
let me
is
just...
a consensus agreement,
well,
and sure, we can say that the winner of a debate is whoever the most people say won, but it doesn't make them having won. You understand?
Okay, what makes somebody having won a debate?
Nothing. Nothing could prove that somebody's won a debate. It's always in the eye of the beholder. It's always up to every individual to decide.
And you think that that decision has to go by the emotions of every person watching? You can't appeal to some other type of framework?
Oh, you can appeal to anything, but my point is simply that if say, you know, again with the flat earth, round earth debate, like if you were to watch that debate, would you not come away thinking, okay, well, that guy made terrible points, but he's correct, so the other guy's a fucking moron?
No,
right?
because I'm not a fucking moron. That's not how you evaluate arguments. You go by whoever lays out a conclusion that is best supported by the premises that they state. That's how you decide who's the winner in an argument, not by whoever you agree with. What you just described is literally confirmation bias, right? Like, I agree with that guy. I don't care what his arguments are, but I'm going to agree with them anyway. Like, there are literally names for how horrible these forms of thought are that you're defending.
It doesn't have... Okay, you say confirmation bias like it's this really horrible thing for me to agree with the guy who didn't make a good argument. But I might already know a better argument.
Doesn't matter. It still makes his argument shit.
Correct.
It doesn't matter, though. That doesn't make his argument good.
Have you taken like... have to be good for him to win the debate.
It does.
Is what I'm trying to say.
So like, okay, so have you ever taken like math classes in like college or whatever?
No.
Okay, have you ever taken an English class?
Of course.
Right. Okay. So if the English teacher is going to ask you, why do you think the Merceau or whatever shot the guy at the beach or whatever, shot the Arab at the beach and the stranger, okay, in some book, right? You can't just say, well, he shot him for no reason because the author is a fucking existentialist or some shit, right? Like, you have to actually like provide like reasons, or you can't just say he shot him because I think so, right? Whether you're right or wrong doesn't matter. The thing that the teacher is looking for is your thought process and how you arrive at the conclusion, right? This is the important thing that matters. Just writing the answer will get you no credit on tests like these. Same thing when it comes to art evaluation. If you want to evaluate two pieces of art, you have to lay by some framework by which you evaluate them. This is like, yeah. So it's the same thing with any argument. You can't just say just because one guy has the right conclusion that his argument is by default better.
You don't have to judge an argument as though you are a teacher grading a paper. Like, anybody can judge it on any basis that they want. Like, whether or not you think a person won is, again, like, your standards for winning. Like, yes, you personally believe that an argument has to go this way in order for it to be considered the victor, but I don't feel that way.
That's fine, but my argument is the one that produces fruitful discourse. Your argument just produces a bunch of people...
If you say so...
I do say so, and I would appeal to that, and we can have that argument if you want. You're basically saying that two people can shout at each other, and you're basically advocating for the complete removal of arguments like in society. Like, there's literally no reason for two people to have.
Not.
So
nothing I've said.
It is the logical.
Okay,
so let me get through a sentence. Okay, it is the logical extension of what you're saying. If two people can
In what way is that the logical extension?
Don't worry, I'll walk you through it nice and slow. If two people are having an argument, okay, and there's a bunch of people listening, and all of those people are of your mindset, where they're thinking, I don't give a fuck what either side is going to like argue or how they're going to argue.
Everybody already is of my mindset.
A lot of people are, I agree, but that's a bad thing in society.
You don't understand what I mean. You are of my mindset.
No, I'm
because
absolutely
you have
not.
decided the framework by which you are going to judge the argument as everyone else is.
No, saying that
is judged through this.
No.
Through this
You're wrong.
logic.
No. So
all right, go ahead and
explain.
So
somebody's saying, okay, I think this person is making a good argument just because I agree with the conclusion, and I'm not going to listen to any of the actual arguments. That is not the framework that I appeal to when it comes to arguing with people.
What do you appeal to?
I mean, it depends on the type of argument, but generally we list out some amount of arguments for something. We check the validity of said arguments, and then if those arguments reasonably support the conclusion, then we say that this person made the better argument. And then we check those to counter the other premises laid out by the other person making an argument, and we see whose arguments stand up at the end of the day and whose better supports each other's conclusion. Okay.
It's a pretty good system. I bet that it appeals to a lot of people. It probably is, something that would convince a lot of people that whoever, argued better in the way that you're framing it, is the winner of that argument. but that doesn't make them the winner of that argument, and it doesn't mean anybody else has to agree with it.
Yeah, well, nobody. These are the most vacuous positions I've ever heard. No one has to agree with that. Of course, no one has to do anything, right? But my argument is that my position is better for figuring out who is the actual like person who's coming out on top of an argument versus somebody just saying, "Well, I feel like this guy's winning because that's the feeling I have going into it."
I don't think it's better.
Okay, why not?
I don't necessarily think it's better. I don't think if I walk away from that flat Earth, round Earth debate that I should come away thinking that the flat Earth guy was the winner.
What if you're somebody that already believes in flat Earth and you go in and the other round Earther is the one making all the good arguments, but you believe in the flat Earth guy because you just like his conclusion better?
Well, that's your prerogative. I mean,
so you think that's okay then? Can I hear you?
Yeah.
So you think that's okay that a flat Earther can walk into a flat Earth versus round Earth debate and he doesn't care what any of the arguments are. He's always going to walk out believing the flat Earther. You think that's okay? You would advocate for that system?
I didn't say I think it's okay.
Wait, why isn't that okay?
I'm not advocating.
Wait. Tell me specifically. No. I'm not asking you how the way things are. That's not the conversation. We're having a prescriptive conversation on how things should be. So I'm asking you.
Well, I don't believe in any kind of prescriptivism. So, like,
you don't believe that we should ever act. How you literally are okay. So you don't think that we should tell people anything about how they should act or what they should do, whatever. Everybody should just do whatever.
Not that everybody should just do whatever. I mean, yes, we should tell people how they should act if we want them to do what we want them to do.
Okay, what you just said is a form of prescriptivism then, right? We ought to tell people how they should act in some regards, right?
It depends on how you're looking at it. Like, if you're saying that, like, in order to meet the ends that we are hoping to meet, we should do that, then yes. I consider that manipulative. I don't necessarily consider that, like a good thing. It's just what we have to do.
Sure, so let's go back to then the original example that you used, okay? If everybody was using my system and a round earther and a flat earther went to a debate and half the people believed in round earth and half the people believed in flat earth and everybody was using my system where they listened to the better arguments, then assuming both of them like argued honestly, everybody would come out believing in the round earther because they're evaluating the premises to see if they reasonably support the conclusion. In your system, half of them would go in believing in flat earth and they would come out.
No, you forgot that the point of this debate, you've completely recontextualize what this round earth flat earth debate was. The point of this, as an example, was that the round earther gives a terrible argument that all he says is the earth is round, I don't have to argue this, it's fact. The flat earther has facts, figures, well, he doesn't have facts, but he has what he believes to be facts. The round earther cannot disprove him other than to say that the earth is round.
Sure, but I'm asking, what if you flip it? What if the flat earther actually wins the debate or whatever?
What are you talking about?
Or wait. So you're saying...
Have you gotten lost in my example here? Do I need to...
It's really, really hard. I don't usually go like this fucking stupid for these arguments. I've never argued with somebody that unironically says that you shouldn't listen to any arguments to have a conclusion. It's really hard. Hold on, I'm trying to understand.
When did I say that? Okay,
hold on. Wait.
Hold because on. I think you're struggling to follow my premise.
No. I'm following it, but it's like it's actually so stupid. It's really hard for me to like actually.
You keep saying, okay, it's so stupid. I can't understand it. You're the fucking retard. Okay, you can't follow my fucking thing. It's simple. It's basic.
It's simple.
Just listen to the words I'm fucking saying.
I'm listening to you, but you're saying that people should go into an argument, and as long as they know one side is right, then they come out.
I'm not saying that.
How are you not saying that? Hold on, wait. Did you not earlier say that if you go in and you listen to a flat earther and a round earth debate, and the flat earther makes the best arguments, you can still come out believing the round earther because you already know it's correct?
Yes.
How is that different than what I just said? That you should always believe a conclusion if you know it's correct, regardless of what the arguments are. I'm literally just saying the same thing.
When did you should always believe come into this? When did I say anything like that? You said you can go into this debate and leave with this conclusion, and then now you're changing it to... Oh, you should always. Those are two very different things.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This is the whole point of my argument,
yeah.
is that you do this thing where it's like, as long as broadly it sounds kind of the same, then you make it out like it's the same. It's not. I choose my words carefully.
Okay, so you're saying... Okay, sure. Okay,
I responded to you in this tweet, I was very careful to say, not a stance I hold with the phrasing chosen.
No, you're not being careful. You're being vague there.
mean?
Notice how you didn't actually point out with anything you actually disagreed with, right? You left it very open because I don't think... I think you know that your argument is like totally untenable here.
Yes, I know my argument's untenable. That's
well, your argument is untenable because if you go and you talk to any other person that is intelligent and you ask them, do you think that a good point is one that is unsubstantiated? Everybody will say, well, no, of course not. That's not a good point at all.
I never said that a good point is one that's unsubstantiated.
You literally just said that at the beginning of our debate.
I did not.
I asked you.
You pull a fucking quote from me where I said that.
if somebody wants to Twitch clip it, you guys can go back and find it.
Go
But in the
ahead
beginning
and
of this
try, 'cause you're not
conversation,
going
I
to.
literally asked you, I said, do you think it's possible to raise a single good
Do
point
you
if it's
think it's
unsubstantiated?
possible? Do you think it's possible? Yes.
Okay,
If
so
I
you think
walk
it's
up to
possible to
somebody
make a
and
good
ask
point? Wait,
them,
wait.
Do you see what you're doing here? You said if you walk up to somebody and ask them, is an unsubstantiated point a good point? They're going to say no. That's because that statement's crazy, right? Can an unsubstantiated point be a good point is a completely different argument. This is what I'm accusing you of doing. Do you understand that?
Okay. So you believe that it's possible that a good point
Yes.
can be unsubstantiated.
Right.
And that is
A good
and the
point
only
can
way
be unsubstantiated
and the only
by
way
the person
I understand Sure.
arguing.
Okay.
You see?
And the only way a good point can be good if it's unsubstantiated is if you already know that the point is correct.
I mean, it's not that you have to know that the point is correct. It's that the point has to be correct.
What does it mean for the point to be correct?
It means probably that somebody else substantiated it.
Okay, so a good point can be a good point if it's unsubstantiated in argument, as long as it's substantiated in another argument.
As long as it is true. As long as
What does it mean for something to be true? I'm so curious what your theory
Well,
of truth
you
is
know,
here that you're subscribed to.
True insofar as we have a logical, we've come to this conclusion.
Come to a conclusion. So you mean follow some number of premises that rationally
Yes.
lead us to a conclusion. So
Of course.
if that conclusion is followed by some number of premises, wouldn't you say that conclusion or point is supported or substantiated?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, is that the point itself is substantiated, it's provable, it's true. However, in the context of the debate, the person debating doesn't substantiate it themselves. That doesn't make it less true.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
So let's say that a person, okay, I'm trying to think. I gotta rack my brain for an example here.
You don't need to, because we're off in the weeds already, because we're talking
Well,
about
no, this is
the
a
wrong thing.
No. This
isn't about whether or not the claim was substantiated. This is
Here,
about
no,
whether or not
I
you
got
put
one.
words in my
Okay,
mouth.
let's say that two people are having an argument over the number of keys on a piano. Okay, there are 88 keys on a piano, as far as I know. Okay, generally, let's say that one guy, okay, says I think there are actually 42 keys, and the guy's like, well, why do you say that? And the guy's like, well, because I have 10 MIDI keyboards at home, and they all have 40 keys or 42 keys on them. And then the other guy goes, oh, yeah? Well, and then he takes 2 Dungeons & Dragons dice and he rolls them, and both of them land on 8. And he's like, well, 88 is actually the number of keys on the keyboard because I rolled these dice and that's what they told me. Do you think that guy has a good point because he's correct?
I mean, both of them are correct, because the guy literally said that there are 40 whatever keys on his keyboard.
Yeah, but
So
assuming they're
clearly
arguing about
pianos
the
can
number,
have one or the
assuming they're
other.
arguing about the number of keys on a standard piano. Do you think that the guy that rolls the dice that comes up 8 and 8
Well, if he
because he's
fucking has the right number, then yeah, he's correct. It doesn't really matter that he reached a conclusion like an asshole. He is correct.
Oh man.
He has the right information. If you come away from that debate going, wow, that guy who rolled the dice was a fucking moron. Pianos clearly have 42 keys, then you're an idiot. You could just go look it up yourself.
I'm not trying to add how I swear. What's the highest level of math you took?
Why does that matter?
Because as soon as you hit I don't even know if you need to get to calc to know that what you're saying is insanity. I think even in algebra.
Okay, go ahead and break it down.
Yeah,
Show
so
me the
your
math.
conclusion doesn't matter, right? What matters is your thought process. So I think even in algebra, right? Don't you get the big, the a squared plus b whatever shit, and you have to break it down, and you've got to solve for a variable or whatever. Even in those things, if you get the correct answer, but your thought process is fucked, then the teacher's not going to give you credit for the answer because
The teacher's not going to give you credit. Sure, that doesn't make you incorrect.
No, stop. You're appealing to some real dumb shit right now. When I say the teacher, I'm not saying that we're ruling this by the standards of a teacher. The teacher does things because generally what we want to do is we want to produce a rational, coherent thought process that will tend to predict correct answers in the future.
That's what we want to do.
But if you're getting
that doesn't make the answer incorrect.
But it makes the answer not a good point. It's not substantiated, so it's irrelevant. So it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. What matters is the thought process you use to get there.
If you are judging a debate by the standard of that, then yes. But if you are not doing that, then no.
Okay, wait. You said you don't like Death Note, right? I think a lot of people said that in chat. Or do you think it's overrated or something?
It's all right.
Oh, it's all right. okay, what if I came up to you and I was like, Death Note, that's an all right anime. And you're like, oh, well, why do you think it's all right? It's like, well, because anything animated by Japanese people can only be just all right. Do you think I made a good point about Death Note being all right?
I mean, I don't think you made a good point, but you're still correct that it's all
so
right.
wait, so you don't think my point is good? Because my argument is unsubstantiated by my premises that Japanese people can only make all right animation.
Well, okay, if you're saying that your point was that Japanese people can only make all right animation.
No, my point is that Death Note is all right.
Point.
That's my argument.
Then you've made it. Yes, you've made a good point. Death Note is all right.
Okay.
That is, if that's your point, then yes, you've made a good point. Death Note is all right. I'm ignoring all the other shit you said, but Death Note is all right. Yeah, okay, we can agree on that.
So you don't see a problem where you could have a society of people that believe in something that is maybe really bad or harmful that could never be swayed from their opinion because
of course that could be a problem.
So then
you always keep broadening this out like I'm talking about.
Well, I broaden it out because as
because
as an online content creator / influencer / political whatever, I'm usually advocating for things I think people should be doing. And one of the things I advocate for is have more reasonable conversations. And then you come on here and you say like, well, people don't listen to any arguments at all. It's like, okay, well, I think people should. But that's kind of the conversation that I tend to have.
I didn't say that nobody does that. I just said that literally all I am saying is that whether or not someone wins a debate is entirely up to whoever is judging it. Whoever is saying, in their own mind, this guy won. Why did he win? Well, I believe he won because he substantiated his claims well. Well, I believe he won because he was correct. Whether or not the guy won, there is no actual win. There's only what each individual person decides. And we as a society, in a consensus fashion, we might decide, hey, like, the best way to judge how someone won or lost is using this system where we say that they substantiated all their claims, right? And so we decide to agree with that. We all participate in it. We decide that that's how we're going to do things.
Okay, cool. So
but
then, go ahead.
I am saying that while it is okay for society to think that, it's okay for you to think that, it doesn't mean that it is that whoever, substantiated their arguments is inherently correct. I have chosen to believe that Dick won the argument because, regardless of the fact that he didn't substantiate his claims well, I felt his claims were substantiated, not necessarily by him in the debate. However, I agree with the things that he said based on my own observations and my own substantiation of those claims.
Sure, then let's get into that. So what are some...
If you say the idea that Dick brought up and substantiated a single coherent point during our conversation, I wouldn't say that he necessarily substantiated...
Yep, I understand your definitions now. I got it. Okay. So I'm curious. So what are some good points that Dick brought up that he failed to substantiate?
I don't care. It doesn't matter. That debate is not what we're talking about. We're talking about
Of course
this
it's not, because you... Oh my God.
Why would it matter? That's not the
fucking
debate we're having.
The reason why it would matter is because now I could illustrate the flaw in your system. Because you're going to tell me that Dick
I don't care about the flaws in my
system. I know
system.
you don't care because you're a fucking moron. I know you don't care. We've already established that.
I'm such a moron that I've come to have a debate about the thing that we said we were going to debate about, and I don't want to get...
I didn't know that the debate... If you would have just told me, I want to argue that a conclusion...
excuse me. Here is exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Not a stance I hold with the phrasing chosen, but we can definitely argue about how you're a piece of shit who puts words in people's mouth.
But that's not what we've had an argument about. All we've argued about so far is you thinking that you can make a valid conclusion without supporting it with any premises.
And you haven't allowed me, because when I said, oh, this doesn't matter, let's get to the part that I'm actually talking about, you went, no, let's go back and break down your language, okay? So that's what we've been doing.
Well, initially I had to because you're working with definitions that I've never heard in my entire life before. So, yeah, we have to be on the same page semantically in order to get there.
And yet you seem to, you came into this saying, oh, I can already, in my head, I know everything this guy could possibly say. And now you're telling me that I have definitions you've never heard before.
That's correct. You actually managed to exceed. That's correct. I set a very low bar and you managed to scrape by under it. You have gotten me. I admit that. I have never in my life heard somebody say that the conclusion is right just because it is, no matter what the arguments are. I've never heard that before. So you have exceeded my expectations. So if we get into the part where I put people's words in people's mouths, if that's what you want to do.
All right. So you said the idea that Dick brought up and substantiated a single coherent point. I said, not a stance I hold with the phrasing chosen, so no. You then say, oh, so you admit that Dick floundered and failed to raise a single good point in our discussion. No, it's not what I said. It's obviously not what I believe based on the discussion we've just had. You have made this assumption about me, and put these words into my mouth so that you can try to get me to debate with you about Dick's podcast thing I don't give a shit about. I'm here to talk about how I don't like to have words put in my mouth. I don't like to have people make assumptions about what I'm trying to say that go beyond what I've actually said, because I have put a lot of consideration into what I've said. And I am saying exactly what I'm saying. I'm not saying anything else. I'm not saying whatever other thing you're trying to ascribe to my words. I'm not arguing. There's nothing beyond
I understand what you're saying.
I said.
I mean, I would say like some advice for the future is kind of like learn how people generally form arguments or have conversations if you want people to understand what you're saying.
Have conversations with people based on what they're fucking saying.
Yeah, so no, I understand, but what I'm saying is that like what you're saying is unintelligible, right? Like most reasonable people aren't going to believe. Most reasonable people aren't going to say that a good point is one that is totally unsubstantiated. That's not a position that most people will take.
Substantiate this claim that you're making right now.
Substantiate what claim?
This claim that most rational people have the whatever you're.
I can appeal to the entire, literally every academic discipline ever. Like, is never going to say, "Oh, you've made a good point, but you didn't support it with any arguments." That'll just never happen.
So, are the only rational people the academic world, or
people that appeal to to using rational arguments? Yes, that's like the definition of like being rational is like logically following like deductive arguments. Yes, breaking from that framework would make you irrational. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Because I stated that because I cited the academic world in support of my argument, you're saying that the only people that I'm saying can be rational are academics? I'm a college dropout. Like I'm not. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, personally, I'm a college dropout, so no, I don't obviously believe that. I think that anybody can be a rational person, and I advocate for anybody to be a rational person.
So you're saying that no rational person ever would have ever thought of what I thought of. So therefore, I must just be horribly irrational, and anybody who listens to me is also horribly irrational.
Well, no, you might have some people that are rational listening to you, but I'm saying that yes, by definition, you are irrational. Yeah, you are by definition irrational.
What's the definition?
Sure. So if you go into an argument and you think that somebody can win an argument because you already agree with the conclusion, even if they made no good arguments, that is by definition irrational. Yes.
I didn't say that it's just because I agree with them. I said because I know they're correct.
Okay, it doesn't change what I just said. You're still irrational.
What is irrational about knowing that something is correct?
Because there's a difference between knowing something is correct versus saying somebody made a good point.
That's where I guess that's the hair we're splitting.
It's not splitting a hair. It's an incredibly important point. We have
drilled all the way down. This is it.
Oh,
this is the hair we're splitting.
Oh, dude, pull Dick's dick out of your mouth for like 2 seconds. I know you like his terminology a lot, but no, there's a difference between. There's a difference between. There's a difference.
I'm not just a dick
and I'm
writer,
sure you do. I'm sure you do. Okay, there's a big difference between making a good point versus knowing that the person's argument is correct. Do you acknowledge that there's a difference there, or can you not see the difference between those two things?
I don't think that those are inherently two different things. That's the hair we're splitting.
Sure. Can I hear you? Can you say that? Yeah, sure. Can you say that to me? I know you love that phrase, drill down, because somehow you think that like actually analyzing what you're saying is like a bad thing. Okay.
Oh, so are you like haunted by the fact that I didn't even remember that Dick had used that term against you? But that is really funny that you've clung to it and it's hanging in your mind like that.
It's not hanging in my mind. That debate actually like got me in like real hard with the PKA community because most people saw that he was a fucking moron after that conversation. He even got roasted for it on the fucking podcast about it because everybody realized how fucking stupid he was. But anyway, your point.
Whatever podcast.
Sure. So anyway, even Dick's own fans in his subreddit where they had to start banning people. It was actually really funny. So you think
Dick's
that
fans are fucking retarded?
Okay, everybody is apparently in your world. Interesting. So you're saying that it's possible that somebody can make a good point even though the argument is not there, that it's totally unsubstantiated, as long as you know that the point is correct?
It's not about whether I know it. It's about whether the point is correct.
How can something be correct if you don't know it's correct? Are you appealing to like God to figure out the correctness of an argument? What does that mean?
I mean, again, I explained this earlier, that it has been substantiated by someone.
So then you know it's been substantiated by someone. So you know it's correct.
I mean, if
like
I
just what I just
let's
said.
Say that let's say I don't know fucking shit, right? Okay. And I come away from an argument thinking that the guy who said the earth is round is correct, even though I don't know the substantiation of that. I just know it's true just because that's what every piece of information I've ever happened to see like would lead me to that conclusion, even if I don't I've never heard a scientist break it down for me. I don't think that, I don't think I have to know a substantial argument. I just have to know that it's a fact to come away feeling that that person won the argument.
Jesus.
So what I want to hear you say is, if a flat earther argues better...
Yeah, hold on. No, I'll
than
say it. If a flat earther is able... Yes, if a flat earther is able to raise arguments that a round earther is not able to counter, and the flat earther substantiates his claim that the earth is flat better than the round earther can that the earth is round, then yes, of course, the flat earther would win that debate. Absolutely.
Right.
By the definition of everything we know about a debate and discourse. Yeah, you think you've raised a good point here?
Yeah, I do. I think there's a lot of people who are going to hear you say that and go, that's fucking retarded. Because you can't substantiate that the earth is flat. There are no
Really? Do you want to have a debate about it? Really? Do you want to have a debate about it right now? Because I promise you I'll win that debate. I will debate that the earth is flat, you could say it's round, and I will win that conversation. Do you really want to do it?
There is no winning that conversation, but you can... It's like, again, this is how you think it works. You think that if you raise all these points about how the earth is flat and I don't, then that means you won. But the earth isn't flat. All the things
but
that
how do you
say
determine that?
Will be bullshit.
How do you know
because
that?
They are not true.
How do you know what's true or false? How do you know that?
Because I've heard it substantiated by
there you
people.
are. So you do need to substantiate these points.
Of course! I never said you didn't have to have it substantiated somewhere in the world, just not in the context of the debate.
Then what is the point of the debate if not to show previous substantiations of a point? The point of a debate is to just go and say, by the way, guys, this is right. And then everyone in the audience that already knows. What the fuck is the purpose of any debate in your world?
There would be no point to that debate. Why would you have that debate?
Okay,
that
let's choose something then that's not so far out there. How about single-payer healthcare? Do you think that in this debate, somebody could just go and say single-payer healthcare is good or bad, and that's it, and their point is good or bad based on whether or not it's true, even though you don't know how to know if it's true because they're not substantiating their point?
I mean, yeah. If their point is true, then it's true, and
how do you
they're
determine
right.
what's true?
I will probably not come away from the argument necessarily feeling that what they've said is true because it hasn't been substantiated to me in any way. But had I done that research, I probably would come away going, yeah, I mean, the guy is right. You know, he's not doing a good job explaining it, but he is right.
Okay. Were there any other topics you wanted to hit up?
No, that was it.
Okay. Good luck, my dude.
You too.
Holy fucking shit. Okay. Wait, okay. So sometimes I like incredulously like go freak out over how fucking stupid some of the people I talk to are. And then some people are like, well, Destiny, could you explain why that's wrong? Okay. So here's the problem with his thought process, okay? And you'll, okay, so I'll use math first as an example, and then we'll move to like real world, like ethical or policy issues, right? So if you take a math class, right? If you're doing, I'm pretty sure this is true of like all levels of math past like algebra, right? If you're proving congruent triangles and trigonometry, is that trigonometry or is trigonometry just like the SOHCAHTOA shit? I don't even fucking remember. I don't remember anything about fucking math, right? If you're doing integrals or derivatives or any shit like that, right? The reason why getting the answer right is usually only worth like 1 point on like a 10-point problem or something, right? The reason why getting the answer right but having the wrong thought process will lose you points is because what you're trying to do is you're trying to instill a good thought process that will lead you into making good decisions in the future, right? If you ask somebody what the integral is of 4 squared, and that's 8, or like 4x squared, the integral of that is 8x. Is that how it works? The variable comes down to some shit. It's like 8x, right? If you were to ask somebody like what the if you were to ask somebody like, I don't know if I did it backwards, or that might be the derivative, but if you were to ask somebody like, what is the integral of this? And they say, oh, well, I know it's the integral because to figure out the integral, you double the first number and then and then that's how you get the integral. And then you delete the exponent. Is that the derivative? That might be the derivative. Yeah, integral might be the other way, right? If you were to do that, then you would mark it off, right? And the person would say, well, hold on, I don't understand. I got the answer correct. Why does it matter if I got the, why does it matter if I use the wrong process? And the reason is because when you go to do future problems, if you're using that process of just doubling the first number, you're going to get the wrong answer over and over and over again. Just because you get the answer correct one time doesn't mean that all of a sudden whatever thought process you used can be used for every single problem. Does that make sense? Like the most important thing is the thought process because that's what's going to predict future success, where success is measured by your ability to get the correct answer. Fuck. Did that make sense? I talked a lot there.